They were still like denying they existed. So they're trying to take this gas field in Syria, really important gas field. America comes and they're like, hey, Russia, these still not your guys? And Russia's like, yep. And it was like, they're like, okay, cool. Bombed the fuck out of them. Killed so many of these. They like killed hundreds. And Wagner had to retreat from the gas field. And it just had a fucking mold in it. And
I mean, the funniest part is that they asked Russia, they're like, these your guys? No.
Yeah. They asked like multiple times before it happened too. It was really funny.
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, Mind Control.
Okay, here we go. Let me make sure I have them. Okay, we're going to start them at fair speed to begin with. Here we go. This is called How the Wagner... I didn't look at the title until now. And I already knew it had the word coup in it, but then the last part of the sentence is really what just broke me just now.
Most of the content is like film based.
But I just added a new soundbite. Let me know what you think of this.
And nothing can go wrong. Oh no, it all went wrong.
So this title broke me, for starters. So I looked at it before because I obviously clicked on it to bring it up, but I didn't read it. I just saw it because we were before this on camera, but we're not going to save that part. We were complaining about how even Fox News is now better than Hassan because they can phrase this as a rebellion, or I don't know. Did they say rebel? They probably used rebel.
Yeah, rebellion was one of them.
Rebellion is a great way to phrase it. But just coup, civil war. Anyone who's describing well, at this point, it will be what went on in Russia as a coup or a civil war. You should not be following that person beyond like entertainment purposes. They're not giving you good information. If that's the conclusion they're making about a certain event, they're already giving you inaccurate information.
Yeah.
So for starters, that's why Jack gave me this video, because it had coup on it, and I'm like, okay, it's going to be one of these idiots. And then I looked at the second part of the title, how it changed Russia forever. It's been a day. That means he literally probably wrote this yesterday if it's scripted. What do you mean changed Russia forever? Like, yeah, everything, I guess, changes Russia forever. You know what's going to happen? Russia's going to go right back to normal. Did you see that the police were returning to the town and people were trying to stop them from returning? They rather have Nazi mercenaries, Nazi genocidal mercenaries than the cops.
Than Putin's cops.
No, just cops in general. That's the joke. It's like cops are that bad.
That's pretty funny.
Right now isn't what you think it is. While it might seem like Wagner forces are just backing down and everything seems normal, this couldn't be any further from the truth. Now, it all began on Saturday morning, June 24th, 2023. The head of the Wagner group, Prigozhin, announced that his army was en route to Moscow and ready to take over the Kremlin, with their private military tanks now surrounding and taking control of the Russian Defense Ministry in Rostov, all as the Wagner group calls for an armed revolution against the Russian government. And as crazy as it sounds, Russia could very well be on the brink of a gigantic change, as the Wagner chief has been seen.
How many people inside Russia do you think are tuning in to, and I'm going to keep calling him Prigozhin or something like that, the Prigozhin here. How many people do you think tuning into his Telegram in Russia?
Probably next to none.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yes. So who exactly is going to be like, oh, Wagner? Like they denied their existence, like for so long that they even
Wagner
exist.
did.
No. Wagner. What? Russia. The first time that we officially saw him being at the head of Wagner, officially, we've known for a very long time. Officially saw him at the head of Wagner and officially linked it to the government is when we have the video of him talking to prisoners. That just confirmed everything we knew the whole time, right? So already they're a fringe force that they're trying, not even people outside of Russia, they're trying not to know they exist for the longest time.
Yes.
So why would people inside Russia be plugged into what these guys are, right? So he's constantly making these videos bitching at the camera and stuff. Who do you think those are addressing? Do you think he's like addressing the Russian people and the Russian people are going to, like somebody commented on their Instagram, okay? I've made it 30 seconds into this video and I'm already losing my mind. Hang on.
Wait until we get to a minute.
Bro, this is going to fucking break me. I had this little rant about how everyone is phonies. And somebody is like commented on, and it was like, if it is a civil war, why would Wagner take the Russian people hostage? His goal would be to turn the people against the government, not against them. Bro, do you think Russia's a fucking democracy? Do you think Wagner is a fucking democracy and needs the like support of the people? No. Also, what was the first thing that happened in the Iran Revolution? They took hostages, right?
Yeah.
That's just what happens. You take hostages for human shield and collateral. The thing is, what would be funny about them doing, which would work almost everywhere but Russia, we know from the Moscow theater incident and the school incident, they don't give a fuck about the hostages, you know? So if this was a legitimate thing, Russia would have bombed them regardless of the people that were around. If this was a real thing, it would have happened. We've seen Russia's history under Putin. It's not even like it's a different admin. You can like try to like act like America is the same thing under George Bush, like tankies and libertarians do, and pretty much everyone else who's like an illiterate fuckwad. And it's funny to call tankies illiterate because you know they actually haven't read the Communist Manifesto, even though it's like a 2-page book.
Casually meeting the commander of the Southern Military District, a military district that contains more than 25% of Russian military, whilst also having conversations with the Deputy Defense Minister. Bear in mind, these are some of the most important, influential, and senior members of the Russian military, and they are openly collaborating with Wagner in his revolution. And it's not just the inside Russian leaders that are now collaborating with the Wagner group. It's also being rumored that the CIA also convinced the Wagner chief that Putin planned to
this is the exact moment that I bookmarked it. Okay, the OSINT one I think is fine, but notice how the OSINT guy doesn't mention.
It's mass. It says mass confusion, and I would describe it as that mass confusion.
Now,
I think that's accurate.
Let's look up Twitter and let's look up this.
Now the source. Source. It just says source. You can't just say source. Source.
It just says source. It says nothing else. Yes.
The CIA convinced.
I guarantee.
Please tell me at least the guy we're watching is criticizing this tweet and not thinking that this is a good
I don't know. I stopped watching because I'm
gonna go back and we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. There's no way you can see something that stupid. Is he a journalist? Why is he saying source like he's a reporter?
It does. It says media and news company. It says Politic Republic on Substack exposing equity, offering conservative takes on liberal talking points.
Okay. Okay, that's all I needed to know is right there. Remember a while ago, I was joking around on how funny it would be if America just hired Wagner to go fight Russia.
Yes.
That was a joke I had for a while ago.
Yeah.
This revolution. And it's not just the inside Russian leaders that are now collaborating with the Wagner group. It's also being rumored that the CIA also convinced the Wagner chief that Putin planned to arrest him, promising support.
By who? Also, let's have a look at this.
Did we get a Freedom of Information Act request all of a sudden that went through instantly? What do you mean?
All while the CIA actively feeds troops real-time intel on the Russian military. And what's even more insane was that in a leaked audio recording, Bragastan claimed, quotes, "Where soldiers meet us, the Russian guards and military police wave their hands cheerfully," with the Wagner group claiming that Putin made the, quote, "wrong choice and that soon Russia will have a new president." So Putin quickly came out publicly, calling Bragastan a traitor, adding that this is, quote, "a stab in the back of our country and our people."
Боевых товарищей, которые сражаются сейчас на фронте. Это удар в спину нашей стране и нашему народу.
Immediately, security measures have been strengthened throughout Moscow. All the most important facilities, state authorities, and transport infrastructure facilities have been taken under increased protection according to law enforcement agencies. And of course, it didn't take long after Putin's speech for Russian air support to reportedly bomb Wagner vehicles on the highway leading to Moscow, all while the Wagner group has shot down multiple Russian helicopters. And so it seemed like a full-on
maybe multiple. I just know I've seen one go down. I don't really care.
conflict is unfolding within the Russian nation. But then everything just stopped. From being on the brink of a revolution, the situation just suddenly went back to normal. But we all know that this is far from normal, and the consequences of this are catastrophic for Russia. And there's just so many reasons why.
Where did you find footage of people running?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I saw it once, but that was like from one person.
I haven't seen that on any of my feed. I love this though, because it's literally this dude's military experiences that he cooked for Putin. Putin once trusted this man to cook for him. That means because Putin is terrified of everyone because he's afraid of being poisoned, right? He trusted this man enough to cook for him. Things couldn't have soured that much to have that level of trust in Putin, where you handle his food. Things couldn't have soured that much, could they?
Reasons that haven't been spoken about by anyone. But to understand why, we need to look at why this actually happened. What's going on here? Is this just a psyop to cover Russia's biggest offensive in Ukraine? Is this the beginning of World War III? Is this a play by China and America? Or is there really a revolution unfolding in Russia as I speak?
All wrong. All wrong. Okay. First of all, we don't exactly know what's going on, but I can tell you it's none of what you just said. I was thinking about this, that So they said because I'm not sure if they said Wagner's gonna continue like their operations in Africa and stuff like that, right? So the conclusion, like they got even Lukashenko involved in this for some reason, right? To even make it because they needed somebody to like host him because he's like a war criminal and he'll go to the Hague if he's not in I knocked my mic cover off. He'll go to the Hague if he's not like in a Russian friendly country. So here's what I was thinking. If you think about coverage of Ukraine and Wagner, I mean, it's the whole thing of how you can cleanse Nazis. Those are the Nazis with Wagner, right? It's always been a dunk on them. So why wouldn't Putin roll everyone who's already fighting in Russia with Wagner into his military? Right?
It would make sense.
That would make sense, but you would think he wouldn't need all this song and dance to do it. He would just do it, you know? They would just make a deal to do it.
Yeah.
So it's the song and dance that confuses me because I don't understand the goals of anyone involved. I don't understand what's going on.
It's all a bit strange.
Well, to understand which situation is really happening here, let's have a look at how this began.
Like we knew from the start with how casual it is, nothing serious is going to happen. What would be interesting, because it shows him friendly with the military and stuff, right? So what would be interesting is if this guy that Putin once trusted with his food is like making this move on him to get a certain goal that he wants, like basically his retirement.
The quote civil war began after Putin's order to neutralize the most combat-ready units in Russia.
Okay, wait.
What is that?
Wait. Okay, hang on. Did Putin say civil war? No. So it came after what?
Who is this fucking source? Hold on.
AP Wagner is what it says.
What the fuck is AP Wagner?
Associated Press Wagner.
Sure. Okay.
Is that his initials? Online. Anthony Prigozhin?
Possibly.
It's probably his initials. The guy.
Hold on. Valka Online.
Yeah, see, pulled by Papa.
Their picture has the Omega symbol, a nuclear bomb, and a skull.
Oh, you're looking at the Vlaka.
Yeah.
I'm saying AP Wagner is what I'm interested.
Okay.
So I see. They're saying they gave the order to neutralize the most combat-ready unit in Russia. So, bro, there's a quote at the beginning and then a quote with around Wagner's, but you don't have an exit quote. This is the website it's being sourced from.
Telegram.
Yeah, and so the literally so AP is Alex Parker, a Westerner, clearly by the name. So now I'm doing Alex. This internet's getting slow. I got too many Google tabs open. All right, this is him. Okay, so right here, this guy posted Wagner Group Telegram channel changed name to Alex Parker returns. Who the fuck is Alex Parker? Sounds like you are not in the correct Wagner channel. You're in just some guy who's got this one. It says this one's coming from California. It says, I think I found some goody stuff here. Ooh, this is a good source right here. Dimitri, this guy's a pretty good source. War translated. Yeah. This is great. This is a great source.
Yeah, okay, because the NAFO's all over that one as well. So I'm going to say that this guy is not a source and he's probably just a Wagner bootlicker.
And then that other guy, see, this is that same guy, that EMC. Oh, look, EMC and he's Westerner. He lives in Queens. Of course he's a Westerner who's a fan of Wagner here.
Wagner. Deconstructed that entire point. Great.
So, not a good source.
Terrible source.
Sake of one or two traitors. However, of course, the full story is much deeper than this. With the slow, unmoving offensive in Ukraine, things were getting heated within the Russian military. The Wagner Group in particular was losing key, highly trained troops in Ukraine.
And remember, this whole time, every video where he was bitching and he said Wagner was going to leave if this didn't happen. And I've been saying over and over again, they're saying, they're going to leave Bakhmut, they're going to leave this. And I was like, I'll believe it when I see it. And like they just kind of fizzled out, right? And it's like now what they're saying, where will Wagner deploy to next? Who knows, right? And that was the last big thing we heard is and then it was kind of dark for a while, and now there's this.
Ukraine, all for a war that was only meant to last a few weeks.
We will now suffer serious.
No. Hold on, wait. 3 days, my dude. Not a couple weeks. 3 days was how long Putin said it would last. We are
Yeah,
now how many
Well,
days
also,
in?
but do you think Putin believed it would be 3 days?
I genuinely believe he was deluded enough to think he could
I
take
think so. I
Ukraine in
agree
3
with you.
days.
I do agree with you. So
Absolutely certain of it. Now we are certainly losing some Russian territory.
So the Wagner Group chief Baragazan was apparently in heated disagreements with the military leaders in charge of the Ukraine offensive for almost all of 2023 and even parts of 2022. And as these disagreements grew, the Wagner chief announced a march for justice, leading to the beginning of what we're seeing right now.
Once a Putin ally claims that he has left Ukraine at the head of a column of troops and has crossed into Russia in some sort of a challenge to the Russian defense minister, with whom he's been waging a war of words since the outset of the Russian invasion of Ukraine last year.
However, this begs the question, who actually is the
Russian
Wagner Group?
invasion
Well,
of Russia.
But
now it's true.
bro, that was the most accurate information. Is the MSNBC thing that he had in there, ironically, because you know why? They said exactly what this guy said. He said he was doing a march. He literally said it was a parade. You know who else I've seen do this? The Ugandan general.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's done shit like this. He'll say, "I'm gonna do a march." The dude gets so unhinged on Twitter. It's so funny.
probably never heard of them before until now, and that's
You've probably never heard of them until now.
Of Wagner?
Bro.
Is that what he said?
Hopefully, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, again, which I shouldn't. I'm going to assume he meant since the beginning of the Ukraine war, right? Because before that, nobody really knew about him.
Hey, look, he's using an Australian source.
for a reason. The Wagner Group is a private military network made up of ex-Russian special forces. Now, the origins remain largely a secret, as the soldiers are mostly anonymous and untraceable. However, the group is clearly led by Barakazan, a Russian oligarch with close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin. And the group is insanely powerful, with their operations spanning across mining companies, political institutions, and of course their private military force that acts as Pragozhan's frontline agents for Russia's global strategy, including diverting attention from the Russian government's activities. Although for years they've technically not been employed by the Russian government, as they're set up in Argentina, as private military contractors like the Wagner Group are completely banned in Russia. However, of course, it seems like this is a big exception, as the Wagner Group is known for targeting countries and doing the bidding of the Russian government, but specifically operations that the Russian government doesn't want to be attached to. Over the past decade, the group has...
Yes, that is their entire point.
So I'm not sure if I've told you this before,
Yeah.
but this logo on their offices makes me want like a Jimmy John's sandwich.
Yes.
Right?
It really
so
does.
it's funny that like he was originally a chef and then like this is their logo. It's like, oh, that looks like a great restaurant, you know?
Why'd they change the logo? The skull was so...
No,
perfect.
they still have it, but this has like always been on the door, right?
okay.
Because it's like nondescript. It used to be nondescript.
expanded its reach to at least 4 continents, including Africa, where it's operated in at least 18 different countries, providing training to local militaries on how
4 continents. Okay. 4 continents. We think Wagner's on. Okay. Well, they're definitely in South America. They're based in Argentina.
Yeah.
We
They're
know
definitely in Africa.
We know they're in Mexico. Definitely in
Mhm.
Africa. We know they're in Syria.
Yeah.
And they're now in Ukraine. So North America, South America, Africa, Asia,
Mhm.
Europe. So what are we missing here? Oh, Australia and Antarctica. Do we know if they're in Australia?
I don't think they're here.
Okay. So unless they have a
I
secret
wouldn't
Nazi
think
base
so.
in the Arctic, they're pretty
Hey,
much
dude,
everywhere.
Didn't you know that the Nazis had secret bases in
No,
Antarctica?
no,
That's
they
why you're
didn't.
not allowed there?
No. Shut up. Bro, here's what's ironic about this is like he's actually pulling up a good source, and I know it's a good source because I saw the word gold on it, right?
Yeah.
Down here, what he's not highlighting. Fuck, who gives a shit that they helped train somebody's army? Right here is the story. The gold.
The gold.
Gold
Yeah.
exports to Russia. Talking to Omar al-Bashir. Gold. When we explained Sudan. There it is. And I was talking to Horn Anarchist today, and I just mentioned it. How there's a silent gold rush in Africa
Yes.
that they don't want you to know about, and nobody's going to benefit from it. It's loosely linked to BRICS because they're trying to compete with the gold currency of the United States, right? So both China and Russia are doing this, and then South Africa as well, obviously, is super invested in gold. There's all this, like, especially with Wagner. Wagner is on all over the gold.
I mean,
So-
that's their whole purpose, is to give
gold.
gold to Russia
Yes.
in exchange for weapons and arms and all that sort of stuff. Like, this is their entire MO. It's literally Russia's gold arm, and they own so many gold mines. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but that's the whole point, is that they're trying to compete with the reserve currency of the
Mm.
United States, which isn't going to work. So they're doing all this slaughtering for nothing. I mean, it's not for nothing. They're increasing their own wealth, but it's not going to work.
No.
So that's what I was talking to them about. So I was like, the only positive thing that this has done is because China has the Belt and Road there, investing in infrastructure. It made other people like the United States also reinvest in African infrastructure, which even then, it's still capitalism. So if you're not dealing with them the right way, you can still get fucked. But it's a lot better than like Wagner, you know? Like imagine Wagner coming into your country.
How to conduct military strategies and counterinsurgency tactics. And these tactics are often brutal. One notable example of the Wagner Group's influence is in Mali, a country that has experienced 3 coups in just 9 years. You see, after France began withdrawing its army in 2021, Mali is believed to have contracted Wagner troops to help fight against rebels and secure power. And satellite imagery suggests that the group arrived.
That definitely happened, right?
What?
That Mali contracted Wagner?
Yeah. Hang on.
They're pulling a lot of gold out of Mali, no?
Yeah, they're in Mali. There was a al-Qaeda bombing on a Wagner base in Mali.
Okay.
Al-Qaeda did a triple car bomb, reminiscent of the guy who's in Al-Shabaab.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like something along the levels where they brought in that guy to develop the bombs, to do.
Oh, the really good bomb maker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a triple coordinated bombing on a Wagner base in Mali. And the thing is that Wagner has committed massacres in Mali.
Yeah.
Where they've killed like hundreds. There's like we've seen pictures and videos where it'll be like hundreds of bodies and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
So literally, they're so notorious in Mali that al-Qaeda is targeting them with extremely advanced attacks.
Yeah, it says
Quietly in
something,
December 2021, and swiftly built a very strong military presence. And since their arrival, the Wagner Group was linked to violent incidents and even civilian deaths.
He was talking about Mali. That was CAR. You could tell by the flag.
That's in Mali, using brutal torture techniques and anything possible to get the job done. However, they've also been involved in military interventions to support local dictators backed by Russia. For example, the Wagner Group's relationship with Sudan is just an example of Russia expanding their global reach across Africa. The relationship began in 2017.
That was fine. That was fine right there. I was like, don't start with Sudan. But he was fine. That was great. Great info on. Don't go further than that unless you actually do your research.
Has continued under the country's military rule, as the Wagner Group has been training Sudanese soldiers and operating gold plants in Sudan in exchange for weapons and training, all while giving Russia more strategic importance across the entire globe. But more importantly, the Wagner Group has made the billionaire oligarch chief even more rich and powerful, allowing it to only recently become a legal entity with headquarters in St. Petersburg. And while Putin has denied—
Oh, come on. It's not because of wealth that happened. It's because of the war in Ukraine that they built those offices. Come on.
links to Wagner Group activity, Prigozhin has started speaking publicly about his role, because they became a key force for Russia in Ukraine. I mean, just in the first week of the Ukraine offensive, the Wagner Group went through with 2 assassination attempts on the Ukraine President Zelensky. And as the group is made up of ex-Secret Service soldiers, they've been incredibly effective in pushing Russia's offensive. However, as the war went on, as grave mistakes were made, and the supposed—
No, human wave tactics. Explain what they were doing with the wave tactics to allow them to scout shit out.
So, I mean, when you get into like when he starts using prisoners and stuff, I'm surprised they gave those guys guns. So they basically use like recon drones to like watch these people, and they'll send like 5 at a time. And you can see tons of videos where they are awesome from the Ukrainian perspective, where there'll be like one guy killing 5 people in like rapid succession. And it's because there's these untrained convicts that are even like less trained than the Russian forces. And the reason is that these guys are probing the defenses just so like the elites can go in. And the elites are real nasty guys. They'll often be hitting like not the front lines, but the way back. So like you're like really young, inexperienced soldiers. Nobody talks about this. Nobody's going to report on it. So they'll go in and just like slit everyone's throats in their sleep.
Yeah, like they're super proficient at what they do. This is what they do everywhere. Like this is what they're trained to do. They're not soldiers; they're mercenaries.
Yeah, they have been in combat before. An infamous one is like there's a gas field in Syria, and so like this is after like the invasion of Crimea and stuff, and they were still like denying they existed. So they're trying to take this gas field in Syria, really important gas field. America comes and they're like, hey, Russia, these still not your guys? And Russia's like, yep. And it was like, they're like, okay, cool. Bombed the fuck out of them. Killed so many of these. They like killed hundreds. And Wagner had to retreat from the gas field and just had a fucking mold in it. And
I mean, the funniest part is that they asked Russia, they're like, these your guys? Oh, no.
Yeah. They asked like multiple times before it happened too. It was really funny.
A few weeks it would take to annex Ukraine went on for a year and a half.
By the way, I know this because I was there. So as far as like good sources,
the Wagner Group started to turn against the Russian military, and in particular against Putin himself. A key reason for this is that Russia has been under significant economic pressure for years due to a whole bunch of factors, including Western sanctions recently. I mean, the huge sanctions that were placed on Russia clearly decimated.
You know what's crazy about sanctions?
Let him cook. Let him cook.
I just wanted to say, you know what's crazy about sanctions? You can get off them.
Yeah.
They can go away really quick.
Yeah.
And also, normally you get warned not to do something or you will be sanctioned, and then you do it anyway and get sanctioned. Like, you know, the war in Ukraine, then it's like hurt them even more.
Made to the oligarchs' wealth, all while making it far harder for the country to attract foreign investment and completely restricting its access to global financial markets. Now, initially, the sanctions were placed after Russia's annexation.
Before we go on, Russia and China, along with 2 other of the 5 BRICS countries, are leading they're at the top of the leaderboard of rich people leaving their country. Oh, I couldn't imagine why.
I was muted, but I was saying, hang on, I can't hear you because I was trying to go back because I wanted to pause on this boob ship.
The gas ship.
Is that
it's natural gas. It's LNG shipping.
They ship it in boobies.
Like 4 of the 5 BRICS countries lead the world in rich people leaving the the countries.
Were placed after Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and were expanded in response to other.
Oh, okay, that's cool. But invasion first.
Actions, including the country's alleged meddling in the 2016 US elections.
I mean,
and then the supposed poisoning of a former.
It depends on how you describe meddling and if you define advanced information warfare, targeting people meddling in elections. I wouldn't. But to say that nothing happened is a stretch. So.
Sergei in the UK in 2018.
Yeah.
However, of course, more recently, the huge sanctions that were imposed in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine have completely crippled the economy, isolating Russia from the rest of the world economically. But this wasn't the only pressure within Russia. There have been a growing number of reports of bubbling discontent within the Russian military and broader society against Putin, with the big part of this coming from the ongoing war in Ukraine. And in particular, the chief of the Wagner Group has his own personal motivations for escalating this conflict with.
I love how he gets in his armor and carries a gun, and it's not high enough, and it's not protecting his vitals. But the walkie-talkie's protecting him. The walkie-talkie's protecting him. It's okay, bro. You like just this strap, just another inch up. Come on, man.
With the Russian military. After months of bitter disagreements, it's become clear that he has a desire for greater power or influence within Russia. And now is the perfect time. With Russia's economy being crippled, its military.
Do we really need a report on that he desires more power?
Strategy falling, and support from the CIA, it seems like this is all the perfect factors for Parakazan to expand his power. And as Parakazan
the source, remember, the source from how the CIA is supporting him is coming from one guy named Alex on Telegram.
Taken an increasingly public role in the war in Ukraine, his public support in wider Russian society has been growing at a faster rate than Putin. And this increased visibility and fame has probably boosted his own interest in taking on the Russian leader.
Okay, we're past 10 minutes here, right? So it's been all fluff, you know, and then normally they get to the last few minutes here, and then it just becomes I actually was wasting your time leaving you up with all this stuff, right? So this is how the coup changed Russia forever, okay? We haven't gotten anything around really what the coup is. We've just described what Wagner is. So I would hope that people would know what it is before like going on YouTube and watching like this one-off video, but whatever.
Leadership. And so with all of these mounting pressures, it was undoubtedly clear Russia was becoming incredibly unstable at its core. And with bitter disagreements in military leadership worsening, the Ukraine war slowing.
Bro, did you see the picture they used? That's so funny.
Stable at its core. No, and with bitter disagreements in military.
It's literally the picture of the tank that got stuck.
That's hilarious.
Right? Check this out, though. This is so funny. They finally got it out.
Ah. They're all cheering.
See, and this is
Oh
this
my
is the
God.
people I'm the most curious about. The people who were like docile while they were like setting up around it, and then
Mm.
like now they're like surrounding and like cheering for Wagner and like hugging and celebrating them. These are the people I want to know the opinions of. Like, what do they
Yeah.
believe is happening here? Do they think, are they like so desperate to see Putin challenged? Do they like him just because they're
Maybe.
fascist? Like, what is the motivate? Like, why do like are they just cheering because they're military? Are they cheering because tank got unstuck?
It might just be that.
Also, check it out. Check it out. Top of the page. Rebellion in Russia. Wagner rebels turn against
Well done.
Putin.
Yeah.
Every proper source that this guy has
Mhm.
used has been telling him it's not a civil war or a
Yep.
coup.
Isn't that funny?
Leadership worsening, the Ukraine war slowing down, Russia's economy shriveling, and someone was going to have to take on Putin. And so it wasn't really a surprise that the Wagner chief would be quick to order revenge on the Russian government, after claiming that a supposed huge number of his forces were killed by the Russian military, going so far as to accuse Russia of bombing his military sites in Ukraine. And despite the Russian defense minister claiming that there is no truth to this claim, this doesn't.
Have you seen the video of the bombing, the supposed bombing? It's like just a guy running through like a campsite and there's nobody even around in the campsite.
Really?
Yeah,
What the?
it's so stupid.
This whole thing's a joke.
It's so stupid.
Doesn't really matter. Pragozhin is using all of these pressures and all of
I
the
don't know
growing
why he didn't put the video in his. If he's talking about the bombing of that site, why didn't you put the video in?
hatred towards Putin as the perfect attempt to gain power, leading for him to say, quote, "Those who destroyed our guys today, who destroyed tens of thousands of lives of Russian soldiers, will be punished," with Igor Gherkin, an ex-Russian Federal Security Serviceman, stating, quote, "The military coup attempt has begun," leading to what we're witnessing today. The Wagner chief claimed, quote, "To avoid bloodshed."
Oh, yeah,
Not a good source.
Woo!
Not a good source.
God damn, these are terrible fucking sources. Oh man,
That is literally like the worst source.
this is insane. Not a single
Chet, we are
source that he's brought up on Twitter has been a good source.
Turning our convoys to bases. The following statement from Pragozhin, the leader of Wagner Group and the orchestrator of the recent coup, claimed the intention was to disassemble PMC Wagner. On June 23rd, we stepped out for the March of Justice, and in one day we advanced nearly 200 kilometers.
This girl's
Oh my
just a
God.
war translator, I believe.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, I believe so.
From Moscow,
So that's all she's doing is translating what stuff happens. That's all they do.
without shedding any of our men's blood. Now the situation could escalate to bloodshed, and recognizing the potential for Russian blood to be spilled, we're reversing our convoys and heading back to our field camps as per the plan. Now,
The plan. The plan. So it wasn't a coup. Interesting. And he still
So,
titled
like,
it there.
So they wanted to disband Wagner. Okay, let's say that's true, right? So Putin wanted to disband Wagner, right? So this stunt organized with the military to integrate his guys in Wagner into the Russian military. Because if Putin wanted to disband it, it's like renaming Janjaweed to RSF, dude. They're bringing a lot of fucking negative attention, and Putin has already been like recognized as a war criminal. Guess who was committing those war crimes? You know, so like this is a way to like really like get out of it. So even if he wanted to disband Wagner for whatever reason, it would make sense to do this just so his guys would be rolled into the fucking Russian military, and he'd still go and control them from Belarus and control their like Africa stuff, right? And it's clearly everyone is in on this. It's clear. It's obvious that.
now this might have
It was all just a stunt.
And also, literally, you know it because he was able to get tanks somewhere, right? And Russia wasn't even able to like mobile because they couldn't tell everyone in the Russian military this was happening, right? So the Russian logistics jammed and they couldn't even deploy to block roads, right? So the Russian logistics jammed like they always do, but Wagner was able to get their guys and their trucks in an instant suddenly somewhere. Because it had to have been more planned than the literal invasion of Ukraine.
I guarantee it was.
come after Belarusian President Lukashenko spent the day in negotiations with Prakashan, ultimately claiming credit for orchestrating a peace agreement between the two. With the full statement of Lukashenko's press services saying, quote, negotiations continued throughout the day. As a result, they came to agreements on the inadmissibility of unleashing a bloody massacre on the territory of Russia. Prakashan accepted the proposal of the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, to stop the movement of armed persons of the Wagner company in Russia and take further steps to de-escalate tensions. As Prakashan accepted Lukashenko's terms, agreeing to halt the advancement of his forces and retreat to his bases, ensuring the security of the Kremlin, and also Wagner's combatants. And so, just in a couple of hours, this attempted coup just faded away, with Prakashan and his forces.
How is it an attempted coup if they're just surrounding one fucking building in one Russian city? Like, the whole thing is like, hey, it's very close to Moscow, right? That was the whole. Oh, it's very close to Moscow. They could go from Moscow to here. Even he hinted and fronted it. Okay, cool. They could go to Moscow from here. They surrounded one fucking building, dog.
Preparing to return to their bases as normal. And not just from Moscow, but also from Rostov. Russian news outlets report that all criminal charges against Prakashan have been dismissed, and he, along with his forces, will be granted full immunity. And all movement restrictions imposed on vehicles in the Voronezh region, which was the site of earlier clashes during the coup, have now also been lifted. And in return, reports have come out that the Russian Ministry of Defense will go through major changes to stop the Wagner's advances, with Russian state media now claiming the current defense minister and army chief of general staff will be changed, even though Russia is still at war with Ukraine, and this will certainly harm the chain of command that is essential to their success in Ukraine. But this makes you think.
Okay. There was a change in military leadership where somebody didn't get assassinated. I'm sure that Pringles, and he Pringles.
I think it's
Pringles and
yeah. Let's just call him Pringles.
I'm gonna call him something different every time I say his name. But I'm sure that he was like legit. Like he just wanted to leave Bakhmut. He wanted to. He said his forces were leaving after this.
Yeah.
I'm sure he legit was like, I'm done. Like I never wanted to be in a war zone. Like that was not my job. My job was like to have people killed brutally all over the world. You know.
Yeah.
That's my leading theory right now on this whole stunt. Is that it was to remove the guy who's leading the military and give the chef his retirement. So the guy leading the military had to go, and they can't let the people know that Ukraine is actually going really bad and they're failing, right? He's not being relieved because he did bad. He's being relieved because it was part of the negotiations.
Yeah.
And no one will think any different because of this big stunt right in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is a private military contractor in charge of who runs the Russian government? Are they the ones now picking who works in the Ministry of Defense? Are they the ones now deciding Russia's military strategy? Who actually has the power in Russia right now? Is the Wagner chief the de facto leader of Russia? And if so, how can Russia possibly continue with this? As this is the emergence of a multipolar Russia, and Putin won't take this lightly. While on the surface he claims that the Wagner group will be given security guarantees, this seems highly unlikely, as no one who's challenged Putin politically has ever survived today, and no one has.
That guy is alive.
Yes, he is alive. He's in Prague, is he not? Somewhere like that. Or is he still in
Navalny's
Russia?
in a Russian prison.
Oh, that's right. He flew back in, the dickhead.
He went on a hunger strike, and then people were like, "Look at how bad he looks. He's deteriorating." And it's like, well, eat your food, bro. Like.
Has weakened Putin's position on the international stage and national stage quite as much as this, as one of the strongest militaries in the world was almost completely taken over, an unprecedented move that hasn't happened during Putin's reign.
What? Almost completely taken over? What?
Even after the coup, Russian people have been chanting, and it seems like public support for them is at an all-time high. However, even with all of this chaos, it's very possible that Putin actually has a strategy here, as this has caused the Russian people to rally to end the war in Ukraine quickly, whilst also allowing Putin to recruit a list of all the traitors in his ranks, whilst also giving him the ability.
It was all an inside play by Putin. Genius.
To enact martial law power.
Crazy. Who would think that the guy who Putin trusted with his food would actually be betraying with him?
Was within Russia. All while Prakashan has been able to leave Belarus, being given this promise by Putin himself. And so it makes you think there must be a reason for this. It's a classic Russian strategy. And that's why I believe as time goes by, the possibility of this being a psyop is more and more likely, as all the traitors will
Bro, come on. Come on. There's less than a minute left in your video. You haven't explained how it's going to change Russia forever, and now you're admitting that it's all a psyop after using the worst sources. And you literally spent 13 minutes of disinformation to do this? Bro.
be expunged. Putin's control of Russia will be tightened. The Ukraine war will be fueled by a greater sense of urgency, inadvertently making Russia stronger, all while looking weaker to the outside world, which is a perfect political strategy that goes as far back as Sun Tzu's Art of War to
Oh
appear
my fucking god!
Terrible source. Sun Tzu,
this is
terrible,
amazing.
terrible source.
weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. All while this whole situation uncovers a bunch of CIA operatives working within Russia's ranks and playing the West like a fiddle. And so by having this coup happen, it has allowed Putin to
Playing the West by a fiddle. They mean you. And MSNBC and Fox News have been calling it exactly what it is. So, objectively, no matter what side you're on, one of those two are the worst. Fox News and MSNBC, the two worst outlets in America, have gotten it right.
to purge all of the weaknesses within the military and government that may have been slowing down Russia's progress.
Oh, hyper-fascism based.
All whilst possibly giving Putin more and more power. But for now, only time will tell.
He didn't answer the question.
You didn't answer the question.
How's it going to change forever?
Bro, okay. Well, you earned that one.
Imagine if
Oh, God. 1984 is this fucking channel trailer. This guy doesn't seem like a Russian politics expert.
No, he sure doesn't.
Mm. Dude, just like the constant bad sources was so funny.